Welcome to the Cape Computer Science Unit 1 IA walkthrough. This video is part of a series of 7 videos, I think, that will give you a full start to finish walkthrough of what the Computer Science Unit 1 IA is supposed to look like, giving you examples, working out the code, showing you the documentation, and giving you all the little tips and tricks in between about how you should approach your IA. So I hope you learned something, but just remember, I'm not a teacher. Whatever your teacher decides to tell you to do, follow what your teacher says. This is for people who don't have teachers, if your teacher's sick, or you're doing it on your own, right? So, enjoy! Alright, morning everybody. Welcome to, well, I said morning because obviously I'm recording this early in the morning. And if my eyes are a little puffy, it's because, well, this is when you get a lot of work done in life. Except for the fact that my dog is barking in the background. So if you hear my dog barking ever so often, you know how it goes when you have a dog. Exactly when you're trying to do something that's important, the dog will bark because obviously she wants to star in my videos. One day I'll bring the dog in the videos for you to see, right? But not this time. So we do now walkthrough of the Cape Computer Science Unit 1 IA walkthrough, and it will flow into a Unit 2 walkthrough, right? So yeah, we're going through the Cape Unit 1 Computer Science IA. So I'm going to go through a document that I have, and we're going to go through everything from all the steps that they want you to put in. So we're going to pay very close attention to the marks that they want you to get. They really have a well laid out and detailed mark scheme, unlike IT. And that detailed mark scheme could show you everywhere that marks are supposed to be allocated. So let's see how it looks, right? First thing we're going to do is start off with the layout of what they want the document to look like. So it's recommended that candidates be provided with the assessment criteria before commencing, so I am providing it for you. Following aspects of the project will be assess definition of the problem, narrative, flowcharts or pseudocode, coding of the program, testing and presentation, and communication of information. So these are the major parts of the IA. But believe me, that's not all that they want. They want certain things to be very clear, and we're going to take our time to make sure all those things are clear, right? So each component, the aim is to find a level of achievement, yada. Now here's the first problem that I've noticed with this. There are two problems I think in the whole IA. One is with the counting up of the marks. I'll show you that at the end. And there's a problem where they have definition of problem and then they have narrative, flowcharts or pseudocode. But when you go to the list of specifications, which is the criteria for marking, they don't have any mention of the word narrative inside here. So usually you would have put a narrative and then you would do your pseudocode, but they don't have any marks for narrative. So I don't know why they put narrative up here, because they have narrative and flowcharts or pseudocode. So you have the option to do a flowchart or pseudocode for it. But I strongly recommend you do the pseudocode because it's a lot easier, it's easier to follow, and when you do the flowcharts, you end up taking up a lot of space on the pages and it goes from one page to another. But the pseudocode could just flow from one page to another. And if you do reverse engineering, you could write the code and then convert the code to pseudocode after, because some people do the reverse engineering method, which I'll show you when we get to the coding part, right? But for now, let's go with what they want. So they have no marks for definition of the problem or narrative or flowcharts. So the first thing that they have marks for would be functional requirements and non-functional requirements. That's all. Like identification and specifications, that's where the marks start. So I have no idea why it will be assessed on definition of the problem and then narrative, but there's no mention of definition of problem or narrative in the mark scheme. So what I recommend is that you still put in the definition of the problem and narrative to show the examiner that you understand the whole process, because obviously whoever came up with the marking scheme was like, oh wow, we can't make up 60 marks by doing that, so let's just leave it out. But from a normal computer science perspective, you need to go through the definition of the problem, then go into your narrative, then go into your functional requirements. Or you could go to the functional requirements, then go into the narrative. Either one, but you must have some sort of narrative explanation to guide you through your pseudocode and guide you through your code if you go the traditional way, right? So that's the first 2 marks. Then after that, they have marks for design, which is the highest amount of marks, 21 marks, where you write out the pseudocode and the pseudocode must be clearly laid out and expressed as 6 marks. Then you go down to use of files. You have to show that you have a file, use of file structure, declaration of file inputs and outputs. You must have the appropriate data structures. That's the next 6 marks. That's a lot of marks. Then you have to be able to explain why. So you'll see how detailed I go into it. Then you have to demonstrate structured programming concepts. So you must show that you are able to break down a program into smaller pieces and basically build it functionally. Then you have the second highest amount of marks, which is actually the code. So what you'll realize is that most of the marks goes into the planning of your code, and then the next set of marks, 19 marks, goes into the actual coding of it. So once you get to the coding part, you must see the functions, you must see structured programming, which is loops, conditional statements, assignment statements, all those different things, basic things in programming. You must see proper programming style and documentation. So you have to put comments all over. You have to indent the code. You have to, clean it up, make sure it looks very, very neat. The code must match the algorithm. This part is one of the very important parts, because a lot of the times, if the pseudocode looks like C programming, they just go and take away marks, and they will take away the marks, and you have to make sure the pseudocode looks like pseudocode. And there are some key things that I'll show you that they most likely will look for. Evidence of file manipulation. You must show that you've used open up a file, close a file. Sorry to interrupt the video, but this is future me talking to you while you're watching this. And if you are struggling with a certain part of your IA, or you just need some way to check over your IA, we do personal one-on-one IA classes. So if you want your IA to get a check over, just to make sure you have all the requirements on the marks, makeITsimpleTT.com/register. Okay, cool. Back to the video. Alright, then the next set of marks, testing and presentation, which is a lot of marks, 11 marks, because you have to do a very, very solid test plan, and you must have solid test results to show all sorts of different things, especially when it has erroneous input. You must be able to test for normal results. Then you must test for extreme results. Then you must test for erroneous results, and you must test for incomplete results. Each one of those tests is a little different, but you can test it as you go along, and you could also put the test in very easily if something is not done properly. So more than likely, I'll put in the test after to prove that it's there. But when you're doing the test plan, you have to have appropriate messages for when things go wrong, because you must give error message or feedback. And overall presentation, you must have a cover page, table of contents, sequencing in documents should be easy to follow, which I'll show you how to sequence. This is what the first video is about. And then technical documentation. This is new to the syllabus. It was never there before 2022. Where you have to kind of lay out a diagram of what the system should do and put in some user documentation. So the whole thing is out of 6 days, and their goal is to develop the candidate's personal insights into further topics, blah, 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 blah. So they're supposed to choose a problem for which a software solution exists, and then develop the software using software engine. Oh, there's unit 2, sorry, my bad. Yeah, so that's the end of unit 1, and we will flow with the same IA going into unit 2. I'll explain how you should flow with it, and let's jump in and see how it goes. First thing we want to do is we want to lay out our document properly with proper headings, right? So you want to have your cover page. Your goal is to lay out this document in a way that it's easy to follow. So you're trying to lay it out by using your heading ones, right? So your cover page, when you put that in as heading 1, but you don't want that to come up in the table of contents. So you will not put cover page as heading 1. So put it as like title or something. That way the table of contents won't show it. Let me see. Yeah, right. So table of contents, so you should put table of contents as title too. Title. Yeah, right. So your first thing that will come up will be a problem definition. How you're going to lay it out, you're going to go through your whole document and you're going to put it down piece by piece. What each part is, just put all the headings. So don't worry about all the red stuff that I have here. Those are my guides. But what I want you to do is make sure you start off by typing up your document like this. put this as heading 1, put this as heading 1, 1, 1, put these as heading 2, put these as heading 1, heading 2. So let's kind of pause on this part here, and before you even try to type up anything, just make sure you have all of these things, because these are the things that they look for marks. The reason why I make sure that I put them as heading 2 is so that when the examiner is going through and they have to look through this mark scheme, they want to look through this mark scheme and be able to say, okay, do I see evidence of use of files? Yes, they put an actual place inside the document that says use of files, which is what I have here, right? Selection and justification of file structure, description of file inputs and outputs, data structures used, structured programming concepts. All of that, these are the things that they're looking for, and you can clearly see use of files, 4 marks, description of file input output, 2 marks, use of appropriate data structures, 6 marks, demonstration of structured programming concepts, 5 marks. You want to be able to give this examiner no reason at all. They must not be able to say anything about, now that child didn't have this part, because guess what? They are looking at this as their mark scheme. So if they don't see these things, then they'll be like, functional requirements, do they have it in? No, maybe it's inside there somewhere, I can't find it. If they can't find it, then you'll just get 0. So just make sure that everything has its appropriate heading, and these are the headings that I have pulled out for the mark scheme. Of course, you could put in more things, of course, you could put in less things, but just remember that a human being is marking it, and this human being has to comb through your 30-40 page document to find things. The easier you make it for them to not have to comb through your whole document, the easier it is for you to get the marks and just move on with your life, because you don't want to have any doubt in the examiner's mind that you know what you're doing. So again, problem definition, heading 1. Functional requirements, heading 1. Anything in bold is heading 1, right? Non-functional, then narrative and pseudocode. But remember, problem definition and narrative don't get any marks. However, they did say at the start of the explanation, the aspects that will be assessed will be definition of problem and narrative. However, in the mark scheme, it's not there. So we still putting it in just in case they decide problem definition and narrative, we need to look at that to see if they have it or not. Even though the actual marks aren't allocated for it, they're still looking for it to see like a complete project. You don't want to lose that mark if they decide to take away a mark from it, which will be unjust. But we're not here to fight about justice. We're here to actually get the marks, right? So after you lay out this table of contents, after you lay out all the headings, then go ahead and generate a table of contents. If you don't know how to do that, then watch a video on how to do it. Or basically, all you have to do is set the headings, put it as heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, heading 4. Google Docs does a nice thing on the side where they create like a little layout for you on the side, or outline. So once you do all the headings properly, you could jump to wherever you need to jump to at any point in time. But just make sure that is done, because the table of contents is going for some marks. Because if you look at the overall presentation here, appropriate cover page, use of table of contents, sequencing in document, easy to follow. That's what we're trying to get here in this first batch. This first set here, we're trying to make sure that we have the table of contents, overall presentation, cover page, and the sequencing is easy to follow. And the way the sequencing is easy to follow is that we've laid it out in such a way that it will make sense. Okay? So now, let's go into our problem definition. This will be the first thing that we cover in the video. So we basically cover the layout and the problem definition. Sorry to interrupt the video, but this is future me talking to you while you're watching this. And if you are struggling with a certain part of your IA, or you just need some way to check over your IA, we do personal one-on-one IA classes. So if you want your IA to get a check over, just to make sure you have all the requirements on the mark, makeITsimpleTT.com/register. Okay, cool. Back to the video. Now, for the problem definition, you want to provide something that is extremely clear about the problem, and I recommend that you don't have to have I recommend that you get a problem that is real or exists, because in Unit 2, you're going to have to do analysis on the problem, and you have to give out like questionnaires and review documents and all that kind of stuff. Now, you could fabricate it, and if your teacher allows you to fabricate it and create the scenario in Unit 1, then they will have to deal with it in Unit 2 when you reach to the point where you have to do the analysis or whatnot. That is up to your teacher. I don't generally recommend that students fabricate it, because in Unit 2 you end up in a big problem where you basically have to do over a whole IA, do over the whole code. What we want to do is we want to try to get this code to move from Unit 1 to Unit 2, where you take the Unit 1 code and software engineer it to make it better. That's the goal. So, problem definition, we want to provide a clear definition of the problem that you're faced with, or the company is faced with. It should clearly show the background, current technical challenges, and the issues that are caused because of it, and why a technical solution is needed. So it might span up to 3 paragraphs. I recommend you go for 3 paragraphs, because according to the mark scheme, there is no mark for it. But based on how the previous mark scheme was, it used to be 3 marks, so I'll still go with the 3 marks, right? So I'll have some examples here, like one could be Monique's Bakery current results post, and he says are recorded in a book. You want to show the current situation, the thing that is doing. And one of the biggest things you want to show in the current situation is that they're using a manual system. If you could get a problem where they use a manual system or a semi-automated system, you're good to go. You win. Then you want to show what's bad. Customers are always getting the wrong orders, and start to list out all of the problems that they're having. Then you want to show why a computerized solution would make things better, or what a computerized solution could do. So I'm going to use an example of a hospital, right? So we're going to kind of type it through, and we're going to be like the Port of Spain General Hospital. General Hospital should be capital G. I think, is that proper now? Yeah. Currently collects patient data on PATINT on a notebook when they come in. Patients have to write their name and all their contact info in this book. The clerk then has to enter it into the patient file and update the necessary information. After this, a doctor has to get the file and review the patient info before they can be treated for anything. Good. Could I add a little more? No, I have about a paragraph there. That's about three to four sentences. Probably could add something else. This book is transported from one department to another daily for storage and updating. Right. Okay, so we done that. Next, now we want to try to go into, okay, what's the problem with this, right? Show what the current state is, then show what the problem is. So you want to see now many patients often get their data, their files lost, or their data is never updated correctly. Some patients experience spelling errors or have wrong data put in to their file. The doctors then call the wrong person, call the wrong name, and the patient does not get to be treated on time, sometimes due to wrong patient ID. IDs or phone numbers or names, sorry. Right? The wrong patient IDs or names. When the nurses allow the patients to write in the book, they are sometimes incapable of typing in the information, of writing the information properly. And often need help. The data is generally wrong for every patient, right? So we gave them all, hit them there with the second paragraph to show it. These are the problems that we have. Just remember, this carries 0 marks, but they have it listed, so please, we have to put it in, right? I know it's tough that you're doing all this for no marks, but yeah, this is CXC, so I can't really tell you anything different. Like, sometimes they make mistakes. All right, so the hospital would like a computerized solution that would address all of the issues that arise. The solution could allow data to be input easier and input. This way you're gonna like show your skills. Input, retrieved, updated, and shared easily. In the end, the hospital should work more efficiently because all the information is up to date and easily available. It is recommended that they build a custom software system. Right, that's what we're trying to do. That's your problem definition there. Nice 3 paragraphs. The 3 paragraphs make life easier to understand everything, so you know what you're dealing with, right? So once we get our problem definition done, our next job is to move on to the functional and non-functional requirements, which we will get to in the next video. But this video here should have clearly given you a full understanding of what is taking place mark scheme wise, so we understand what the mark scheme is trying to do. And now that we know what the mark scheme is trying to do, we set up the situation where we have a problem and we're going to try to solve this problem, and we're going to break it down into the different aspects that we want to look for, right? So this will be video number 1. Check out video number 2. If you're watching this on YouTube, there's an app that I have that has all the videos laid out in chronological order. So you could watch it on YouTube and you could run through it if you want to, but the YouTube algorithm sometimes will give you the videos not in chronological order. It might show you the actual playlist. So you could go and download the app, makeITsimpleTT.com/learn it, and you'll see all kind of other resources there. And the other resources may actually help you a lot because there's a lot of things that I have for free. And if you check those out, they might be able to help you. And look out for video number 2, right? Good.